All right, guys, we are back with another video. It's been a little bit, and I got this done. So this is the tiny little Cagllari Daytona that I showed in one of my last videos. When I last showed it, it still had a 50cc motor on it. I've replaced that with the 3000 watt Kunray kit with a 72 volt 50 amp controller. It's the big silver thing that's mounted kind of like a radiator. So I wanted to originally use these base plates to mount it to this base plate, but the chain would have been too low if I did that, and the chain has to wrap around that swing arm, even though it doesn't swing. So I had to elevate the motor up. So hopefully you can see that. You have to get really low to the ground to be able to show it. So I had to elevate the motor up quite a bit, but that means that I didn't have to strengthen this piece here because there's not going to be any force on it. The force is basically where it's welded there and welded there. That part of the frame is now going to take the force of the motor. So since these only have like 50cc weed whacker mowers on them, they don't have any front support, and so this thing just has this rear support here. So since I didn't mount anything to that except for the motor controller, and it's kind of like a support, not really because it's bolted, but again, there's nothing on that base plate, so it doesn't need a support. Then I mounted the battery up here. I wanted to mount the battery in between the rails here, but the battery was basically just barely thin enough to shove it down in there, and I would have had to shave quite a bit of the frame off, and then that wouldn't have given it any padding. And if it doesn't have any padding, this thing doesn't have any suspension, so all of the vibration is, you know, going into the chassis, which will then just rub the battery and it would mess up the battery. So I just decided I'm not going to do that. The frame's not thick enough for me to put it inside the frame. So I just mounted it on top, and I built a little tray slightly smaller than the battery with its shipping foam. So the two white blocks are the shipping foam around the battery. So I built a little tray just slightly smaller than that, so it wedges in and sits nicely. I haven't built the top cap on it yet because it sits so nicely inside of there that it doesn't really need it. Yep, I forgot it was on that. Okay, it don't matter. It just fell off of the stand there. But that brings me to the next thing. I made a kickstand for it because I got tired of using that thing alone. So I just made a simple little kickstand, welded that on there. And then I was riding this thing at night a lot. I work at night and I have to drive between buildings when I'm working. So I was using this to do that, and I really wanted a headlight on it. So I got a 72 volt to 12 volt, 180 watt buck converter, and a 12 volt light that's, I think it's like 25 watts, 1300 lumens or something. It's pretty bright, it's pretty good, LED light. And then I also wanted a display so I could see how fast it goes. Unfortunately, I did not know that all the displays only come in kilometers per hour. At least I haven't found a cheap one for 72 volt that does miles per hour. So that's fine. I can do the conversion. It's, you know, 0.62 miles per hour per kilometer per hour. So that's not terrible. Let's see. So I just got that all installed today. Built a little mount for the light, and then bent it down to where it needs to be, and made sure that the handlebars don't smack into it. Originally, I wanted to build a shell around this and then mount this thing over the light, but the as you can see, it's barely close, and the shell was going to be like, you know, have clearance around this. So I had to end up scrapping that idea. These points here were actually welded onto there, and I cut them off. So then I just mounted those under there, and then I wanted to keep this stationary with the bike, the display. I wanted to keep it stationary with the bike, but there wasn't really room. I was going to try and mount it to the front of the battery tray, weld it on there, but I need access to the front here, so that's where I connect the battery. So if I had the display in my way, it would have sucked. So I opted to just weld it to the front of these handlebars. It's not very heavy, so it shouldn't need too much structural rigidity for it. So we'll find out how that goes. Let's see, I also had an issue with the front brake for quite a while. Me and my brother were testing it the day after I completed it, or the day I completed it actually. He came over and tested it with me, and the front brake wasn't working at all. So I thought I was going to have to replace the front brake, or it was out on pads or something. But it turns out this bolt right here got backed all the way out. And so if it gets backed all the way out, it doesn't push the plunger when you pull the lever. And so I just had to take the nut, back it all the way out, and then push or thread the bolt all the way in to where it's actually contacting the plunger, and then put the bolt on to secure it. So now it's good. And then I had the brakes swapped. I didn't know your front brake goes on your throttle hand, so my brother let me know that's how it usually is in big bikes, so I got that swapped over. So it's been great driving it, the little bit I have been driving it at work, and it does in the first power mode, it feels like it does like 20 miles an hour. That's definitely what it feels like. And then watching my brother pass by on the, you know, speed runs, really the shakedown test we were doing with it, it looked like it was doing about 20 miles an hour. It feels like you're doing 40 because it's so tiny, and the tires are so small, and there's no suspension on it. So when you're driving it, it's just like bouncing and sashaying around underneath you. When you put it in power mode 2, it feels like it's probably doing 25, 26 miles an hour. And then when you go into power mode 3, it feels like it's doing 50 miles an hour, but I'm pretty sure it's closer to 50 kilometers per hour, which would be like 32, 33 miles an hour. So I'm not sure what the display is calculating speed based off of, since I can't tell it how many teeth that sprocket is, how many teeth that sprocket is, and how big that wheel size is. And all of those things would be a factor if it's based off the revolutions per minute that this thing's doing. Then you need to know how big that sprocket is, because that's a gear reduction or increase, or, you know, what have you. And then the size of the tire also matters. If you have a smaller tire, you're going to have less top speed for the exact same sprocket. So these things would have less of the top speed than this big guy here, because he's got like a 7, what is it? Oh no, an 8-inch rim. 8-inch rim there. And these are 6.5-inch rims. So, and then that guy would still be slower, I'm pretty certain, than these. That's 2 10-inch rims there, and then that's is it a 12, 14? Yeah, that's a 12 and that's a 14. So all of those tire sizes play a part in how fast you go, even if you don't change the front and rear sprocket. If you just change your tire size, you'll change your total speed. So all that is to say, I'm not sure exactly how this is calculating the speed that it's calculating, because the controller's not programmable. I can't get into it. It's just set to what it is. But I'd rather have a display than no display. So this guy has been built, I don't know, for probably about a week, maybe 2 weeks I've had it. It's been great. The rear tire I had on there, which is now over here, This is one of the tubeless tires. It won't seal, the bead won't seal around the rim. I got soapy water and sprayed it to find out where it was leaking from. I figured it was going to be the air valve, because it's a straight air valve and you have to like really torque it to get the air pump on it. So I figured it was going to be that, but it's not leaking at all from the air valve, and it's leaking around the edges of the bead. So I've definitely sealed the bead. I put a ratchet strap on it and aired it up and released the ratchet strap, and it popped, and I definitely know I sealed the bead on it. It's just either a defect on the rim or a defect on the tire itself. So I might take that apart and sand it and get everything smooth, make sure it's good. But I just went ahead and bought a new tire that actually just arrived today. I just got that put on. It did come as a tube tire, so it's a little disappointing. I'm pretty sure I ordered a tubeless, but whatever. It works. It's a brand new tire. It came with bearings, but they look like they're kind of cheap, plasticky crap bearings. They have plastic covers on them, not the actual ball bearings themselves. So I've had this guy for a couple of weeks, and it's awesome. I really like it. So then I found another little pocket bike frame on OfferUp or whatever for like 40 bucks. So it came with no brakes, came with the brake discs, but no calipers or handlebars or cables. So I had to order that. That came in recently. I just got that installed today. And then this guy here also didn't have any calipers. And the handles themselves are kind of all messed up. So I got new handles. It had its cable, so I didn't have to get cables, which is nice. Got new handles for it, and then calipers. The front caliper fits on and works perfect, beautifully. The rear caliper, I'm going to have to mount to the top. For it to work. It's supposed to be mounted to the bottom. Let's see. Yeah, that's where it mounts to the bottom, and that's where the cable is. So I have to pull the cable up to the top. Whoop, there we go. Pull the cable up to the top, and then build a little mount for that to sit here to get that to work. That is the X7 I've had for I don't know, 5 years, about the same amount of time I've had these dirt bikes here. Both of that guy and the X7 were sitting behind a Mustang over there for quite some time. So I dug those out, and I wanted to possibly put the 3 kilowatt motor in controller and battery inside of this and see how well it does, since it's a much larger frame. It's, you know, gonna be heavier, so I'm gonna see how well the 3 kilowatts does. Plus it's a longer wheelbase, and since these are so tiny, you pretty much have to sit over the rear wheel. Like, you're supposed to be sitting here, but your knees are all the way up on the handlebars if you do that, if you're like 6 foot like I am. So you have to sit your butt here, but if you sit your butt there, your weight's pretty much over the rear axle, which, you know, makes it want to wheelie even without a motor in it. Just sitting on it and, you know, pushing it around, it's the front wants to come up all the time. So I ordered a second 3000 watt motor kit, Kunray motor kit, and another battery. The battery already came in, so right now I have 2 of these 72 volt 30 amp hour 50 amp BMS batteries, which is nice because I can switch them out until the new motor comes in. And then when the new motor comes in, I'm going to get it mocked up and built inside of here, because that's where it will stay. I want basically 2 of these to be able to ride around with whoever comes over and wants to ride around with me. And then I might order another 3000 watt. Like, after I get it built and installed in here and everything working, I might pull it out and then start fatting stuff up for it to fit into this one, to test it out, to see how it works, if I like it. if it's not enough power, and if it's not, then I'll use the 5,000 watt motor, which I still have over here. This is the Kunray KR5V, the 5,000 to 10,000 watt motor. So I might use that guy with the 100 amp far driver controller and put it inside of there. But I was originally expecting to put the KR5V on the dirt bike, and that's why I got all the first stuff I bought was for the dirt bike. The first set of bearings were for the dirt bike, which takes 3 different kinds, which is annoying. And then I got new tires for it, and then got new plastics, body parts for it. So that was the game plan, was to get that guy up and running with the KR5V. But I might do this one first. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. Basically waiting for the second 3,000 watt motor to get in. It still hasn't shipped yet, so still waiting for that. When it does get in, then I can mock things up here. And then the good news is, after all this, still have this project going. This is the AmpAce JP40 battery that I'm building, 72 volt, 40 amp hour, and it'll have a 420 amp BMS. So I first ordered these bus bars. They're 0.3 millimeter, and I thought they were going to be good enough, but they'll only handle a max of 200 amps. So then, like just a couple days later, I ordered the exact same set, but in 1 millimeter thickness. So they should be able to handle at least 400 amps. And then right after I ordered that, these took maybe like a week and a half, 2 weeks to get here. The other bus bars are still waiting to be shipped out of customs. They've been there for a month and a half. I ordered them on June 1st, and it's like July 20th or July 21st or whatever today is. So the good news is I should be getting them Friday. That's what they said. July 24th is when they should get here. So that's in a couple days, which means I can continue and finish building this battery out, and then I can actually charge it with my 15 amp charger, because I'm worried about these cells discharging and getting too low and then going bad. So hopefully that doesn't happen before I get the battery built, and I can get it built and get it charged, and then that will be the battery I'll use with the KR5V. And I'll probably get a won't probably, but I will get a bigger far driver controller to control the KR5V. Since that one's only 100 amp, I'll be getting at least a 200 amp controller. But 72 volt 400 amp controllers are kind of pricey, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna go the full 400 just yet. Plus that battery, if I pull 400 amps out of it, then it will only have 6 minutes of runtime. Essentially, it'll run for 6 minutes at 400 amps, because it's 40 amp hour, which means that if you run it at 40 amps, you'll get 60 minutes out of it. So times it by 10, the amount of power you're pulling from 40 to 400, and then you have to divide your time by 10, so 60 becomes 6. So yeah, if you run 400 amps on that battery, then you only get 6 minutes of runtime. So if I run 200 amps, then at least I'll get 12 minutes of runtime. At least I think that's how it works. So next step for this guy is I definitely need to build not mud guards, not fairings, yeah, front, not fairings, whatever, the fender, that's what it is, the front fender and the rear fender, because if you ride it in water, it throws water up over the tires naturally. So I'm going to build some fenders to prevent that from happening and stop splashing me in the battery and getting the electronics wet, even though they're fine, you know, there's nothing exposed, they can get a little bit wet. And then I want to get some fiberglass and build a fairing for it, like an actual cool fairing. I don't know what I want it to look like yet, but I want to build a custom fairing for it, and then possibly do the same thing for that. I might leave one of them naked, but I'll probably build the fairing because I always have the option to just take the fairing off if I don't want it. So that's kind of the next steps. All of this is in purpose to build a drift cart. That's the original reason why I got into electric vehicles. I just put the motor on this because I already had it and I don't have a go-kart, so I'd have to buy one. So since I had these guys, except for that guy, but since I've had all of these around, I figured, hey, I'll just throw motors on it and see how it works, see if I like it. We're doing the Macoco base. Oh, the Macoco base. You get it. So, that is essentially the next steps. I'm not sure when I'm going to get the go-kart and build that out. Probably won't be until after I get the 3000 watt kit and build this and possibly build that thing out. Then I'm going to look into getting a go-kart and start building a drift cart. Anyway, thanks for your time, guys. I'll talk to you later.